WT. We continue our series on climate change tonight with a look at what has become a real battle to sway public opinion on this issue. Here's Chris Galis.
Tony, despite the increasing scientific evidence, there are those who don't believe humans are causing the Earth to warm up. Today we profile what some say is a growing public relations battle between the environmental movement and big energy companies, which stand to lose a lot if fossil fuel is on its way out.
As British Columbians, we revel in the serene beauty of our province. But the reality is, as Canadians, we're among the worst polluters per capita in the world. 700 million metric tons of total greenhouse gas pumped into the atmosphere every year.
If we're not careful, and this is why we need action now, if we don't start doing something, that towards the end of the century we pass what's called a tipping point, which means that no matter what we do, Greenland has lost its ice.
If that happens, the result could be a 6-meter sea level rise. This graphic depicts the flooding that could hit the Lower Mainland and many other coastal communities in the centuries to come. There is an overwhelming consensus in the scientific community that our production of carbon dioxide and other greenhouse gases is likely the reason for rapidly rising global temperatures. Among the noted research organizations who back that theory are the Royal Society of Canada, the National Academy of Sciences, and many other research and environmental organizations. Still, some people say the research is wrong.
As the evidence comes out, as I'll show you, it's increasingly obvious that CO2 is not the cause of warming, climate change, or anything else.
Dr. Tim Ball recently spoke at the BC Oil and Gas Conference in Dawson Creek with the view that global warming, increased episodes of severe weather, and their catastrophic impacts have nothing to do with the burning of fossil fuels, and it's simply part of the Earth's natural climate cycle.
I think right now there is a public relations campaign that is aimed at confusing the public around the science around climate change, even though the scientific community is not confused about it. It's very clear.
James Hogan is a Vancouver PR guru and creator of the desmogblog website that he believes clears the air about skeptics. He'll even be included in an upcoming documentary highlighting his research that alleges big energy companies are paying a lot of money to dispute the science of human-caused climate change.
Can you put a dollar figure, an estimate on the amount of money that has been put into trying to create that doubt in the public mind?
Tens of millions of dollars, particularly in the United States, from companies like Exxon that have huge stakes in this. This is a big company that stands to either lose or make a lot of money on the fossil fuel industry. And these people are really interested in making sure that there's as few regulations standing in their way as possible. That the Friends of Science.
The spiderweb on Hogan's office wall depicts some of the alleged connections between big oil and groups like the Friends of Science, which has Dr. Tim Ball sitting on its advisory board.
So these guys are out there funding these pseudoscience groups and what we call astroturf groups, which are sort of phony grassroots organizations that just crank out news releases, set up interviews, and try and get this wacky point of view out in the news media.
We wanted to ask Dr. Ball about his point of view, but he refused an interview, saying he's been unfairly treated by the media. And in fact, he recently launched a lawsuit against the Calgary Herald, a newspaper owned by Global BC's parent company, for publishing a letter to the editor that called into question his credentials.
And all you hear is all the negative things about warming. Oh, it's going to do this wrong and that wrong. But warming is going to do a lot of good things, too. But you're not allowed to say that. So I wrote an article saying, here's the positive things about warming. Oh, immediately. No, there's that oil and gas guy again.
In any field, when you have a topic that has potentially huge policy implications, you will find that there are special interest groups involved that would like to stop governments from making policy that will somehow impinge upon their business.
And policy is the topic of our third and final installment tomorrow. The provincial government's plan to tackle BC's growing energy needs and why environmentalists say we're taking a step back with a proposal to burn coal. That's coming up tomorrow. Tony?
All right, Chris, thank you. In business news, oil prices dip below $58 U.S. a barrel today as traders reacted to mild weather on the East Coast. Here's a look now at tonight's money numbers.